Claude Butch Smith, August 8th, 1938, Sterling City, California.
How many brothers or how many sisters did you have?
I had 3 older sisters.
Do you know how many children they had?
The oldest sister, Jean, had 5 girls. Maudie May had a 1 boy and 1 girl. And Joan, I lost count of her kids. With her different husbands, I lost track of her kids.
Okay. So did you know your grandparents?
I knew my grandmother on my mother's side, Leela Porter.
Did she work at all, or?
Not that I'm aware of. No, she was always a home mother, as far as I know. I never met my grandfather, on her husband. Apparently I did meet my dad's father, and I did meet my dad's mother, but I didn't spend any time around him. I didn't get to really know him.
What kind of education did your parents have?
I know my dad went to the 8th grade, and I'm not sure about how far my mother went. And
what kind of, did your parents have any stories that they related to you about them?
Not really, as far as their lives were concerned. No, I didn't get to. I was so late in life with my parents that I didn't get updated on a lot of their family stories.
To your recollection, what kind of jobs did your father have?
When I was born, he worked on the railroad for the logging company in Sterling City, and he'd become injured on that job and wasn't able to do much. Before that, I was told that he'd had worked at a lot of different occupations. I know one time he helped dig a big canal over around Willits, California, and Stony Ford and all that area over there. He used steam of horses or mules to dig the canal. Also, he told me he sold stocks and bonds at one time. And he worked in steel mills at one time. And he'd worked a lot of different occupations.
I imagine he worked in farming with his father?
His father was a horse trader, and they traveled all the time. So.
Okay. Did your mom work at all?
My mom, during the harvest season, she worked on some of the almond hullers and things like that. That's the only outside work I know she ever did. Other than she cut hair for all the neighborhood people.
Yeah? She mentioned something to me about working at Woolworths at one time.
Yeah, not if she did, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, all right, that's all right.
And my sister did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
Jean.
Jean worked at Woolworths?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Montgomery Ward's. She worked at Montgomery Ward's when she married Leonard. Yeah.
Where did they meet? Your parents?
I have no idea. I'm just assuming it was up in Modoc County, where both families had farms up there.
When and where did they get married?
I have no idea. I've nobody's told me, and I've never seen any paperwork to verify where it was. I just taken it to, I'm guessing it was in Modoc County, up there around the family ranch.
Okay. What do you remember about Sterling City when you were little?
Mainly just the big old sawmill that was there, the huge sawmill. I remember going out cutting wood with my dad. And, I remember building a dam and a ditch across the street to dam up the water to play in. And my dad going over and breaking the dam down, afraid I'd drowned in the water. And my sisters and all of her friends would go on a hike down to the river to go swimming down to the swimming hole down in the river.
Any memories about like the weather or anything up there?
Other than the snow, I remember sledding in the snow on my sled. My sister, I was told my sister would put me in a hole in the snow up on the hill above the house, and while she went and played with her friends. I do remember riding on the sled from above the house, clear down the old wooden sidewalk, clear to the grocery store together in the town. That's about all I remember about it while I lived there.
Do you remember the address?
No, I was a little house in the corner of Micah Street in the Skyway.
Okay.
It's no longer there.
That's great.
The schoolhouse was on the top of the hill.
Yeah.
I started the first grade in this up there in Sterling City, and around October of that year, we moved to Chico.
Do you remember the house that you lived in up there?
And, oh yeah,
Was it big? Little?
It was a two-story house. I have pictures of the snow the year before I was born, with 12 feet of snow, and it covered the bottom of the story completely.
Yeah.
And a big walkway shoveled to the front door to get in and out.
In your opinion, and this is just your opinion, what were your parents like? Your dad's, like, their personalities, you know?
Just hardworking, down to earth, everyday people. They worked hard and did what they could to do what was right.
What is your favorite memory of your dad?
At first,
Your favorite, if you could think about one great memory.
him just enjoying a good meal and being around their grandkids. And,
Yeah?
he enjoyed their grandkids and being around them. And he helped raise enough of them, and it's a good thing he enjoyed them, because he helped raise a lot of his and everybody else's.
So, if you have one good memory of your mom, what would it be?
Just being a simple, great person she was. She loved everybody, took care of everybody, and she had a hard life, not taking care of her family, but everybody else's. She was a friend to everybody.
I mean,
I don't remember speaking bad about anybody.
Yeah.
I know she had a few people she liked better than others, but she liked everybody.
What do you think is the most important thing they taught you growing up?
Taught just honesty. Doing well, doing good, and honesty.
Do you remember doing any things together as a family that were fun? You ever take a trip or anything like that? Or?
The only thing I can remember is going to pan gold along the river over in Orville.
Oh.
Yeah, get together and like on a weekend or a Sunday and go to, and then trips from Sterling. I do remember some trips from Sterling City down to Orville to go shopping in the old Model A. It had a rumble seat, and I was sitting in that rumble seat going up and down the old mountain roads to go shopping, and I had an imaginary kitten I used to carry with me.
Yeah. Did you ever have any pets growing up?
We used to have a dog, but I can't even remember its name when we were up in Sterling.
Okay. Did you have a best friend when you were up there?
Not in Sterling.
Okay.
I had neighbors, but no single best friend.
Yeah.
There was the brown boy. Well, one of them, I guess I went to school with Stanley Henry, and I remember on the way home from school, stopped by his help to help him chop kindling, and when I tried to chop my finger off, I've still got the scar. That the axe went through. Maybe just missed the bone, slipped by the bone, and I went home. My mom cleaned it up and wrapped it up with some clean bandage, and never even went to the doctor. I just
You're lucky you still have it. Yeah. Where did you first start school?
Sterling City.
Okay.
Yeah, 2-room school.
How did you like that?
That was okay.
Yeah?
I was so young. I didn't know what was going on.
I knew you moved to Chico
Right.
in what year?
45.
45. And you went to Chapman Elementary?
At Chapman Elementary
Okay.
School.
Okay. Do you have any close friends there?
Oh, just the neighborhood friends and neighbors, and the Staten kids next door, and my friend Bill Turner down the street, yeah, and then later on, around the corner on Laurel Street, friend Joe Pavsik moved in down there, and then the Silva kids down there, and on the corner of 19th there was the Rasmussens, and they had several kids that I played with, and that was the majority of the kids that I played on. Oh, down the other towards Bill's house, the Donner kids were out there, but it was mostly girls.
Now, you mentioned about Bill Turner.
Bill Turner.
Is that Willie?
Yeah, that's Willie Turner. We call him Willie.
Right, okay.
He's still a good friend. We both attend high school get-togethers when we can, and get emails from him.
Yeah?
Yeah. He's married again now.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Math? Do you have like a subject that you didn't like?
English.
English.
Reading and English. I was a poor reader.
Yeah, okay.
I had a hard time reading.
Well, you changed that around, didn't you? As you got older, yeah.
Just worked at it.
Now you love reading, so.
Oh yeah, I love reading. Yeah.
Do you have any like hobbies or things you like to do when?
I enjoy a little woodworking when I have time.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of as a kid. Did you have like sports hobbies or anything like that you did?
Bicycle riding.
Bicycling. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
I used to like to run, bicycle ride, and spend time in the park.
Yeah.
I was left free to do whatever I wanted as long as I didn't get into trouble.
Yeah.
Kids don't get a chance to do that anymore.
Oh, they don't. Yeah. Did you have chores your parents had you do around the house?
No, not really.
So you say you weren't really involved in any sports or anything. Did
No.
you? I see.
I couldn't afford insurance to get involved in sports, so I didn't get involved in them.
I do remember you were being the bat boy for the Colts.
Yeah, that was just a volunteer.
Yeah.
I used to go out to the ballpark and the fairgrounds out there, and I started keeping score on the scoreboard. And some of my friends were the bat boy, so
Yeah.
and I got involved in helping them and got acquainted with a lot of ball players and different people.
When I'm going to kind of go off of that subject a little bit. When you had holidays growing up,
Right.
As a family,
Right.
I'm thinking like while all the way up until you got married. As a family, what kind of celebrations did your family have when you're growing up?
Mainly just Thanksgiving and Christmas.
And-
That's the majority of it.
And did you guys like have a big get together or?
As much as could, but it was limited.
Yeah. What was your most memorable birthday?
8 years old. I got my first bicycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad said no one was grown up enough to have a bicycle till they were 8 years old. So everybody had to wait till they were 8 year old to get a bicycle.
So I won't ask you what was your best present you ever got, because it was obviously
A bicycle.
the bicycle. Yeah. When you were growing up, what did you want to be when you grew up? You know.
I didn't know. I didn't have 'em. I had neighborhood friends.
Uh-huh.
That the one that had a upholstery shop and over on the next street, and he let neighborhood kids come in and learn how to upholster cars and boats and whatnot, and it gave me an education on how to do a few
Right.
trade projects.
Yeah, I was wondering if you didn't want to be a policeman or a fireman or anything.
No.
Okay. You wanted to work with your hands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Neighbors had a lot of neighborhood jobs, yard job work, and cleaning yards and mowing grass and
Yeah.
with neighbor people.
I know when you were not very old when you started driving truck.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that all came about?
I had brother-in-laws that worked in construction work, and they would sometimes have weekend jobs that they'd do on the side and then take me out, like on a farm or something, to dig a ditch to put a pipeline in or something for a farmer or something. And they were all busy working and needed somebody to go to town and get stuff for lunch, so put me in the car and send me down the road.
You graduated from high school in '56.
Right.
So you would have been 15 and about 53, 54, is what I'm
Right.
guessing. So,
That's about the time I learned how to drive a car.
yeah, because I know
Yeah.
you weren't very old. You weren't
Yeah.
very old when you got your chauffeur's license.
Right.
And-
I was 17.
Yeah.
I had to be 18 to get a chauffeur's license.
And how did that happen? I mean, they kind of vouched. Who vouched for you?
Oh no, I just made out the form and they
Oh.
took my word for it. I didn't have to have a birth certificate or anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, earlier years I had a girlfriend in the neighborhood, and that was before I learned how to drive. And her father asked me to go for a road trip with him up to visit some friends at Happy Camp. And on the way home, he asked me if I wanted to drive part of the way home, and I told him I didn't know how to drive, so I hadn't learned how to drive yet. Yeah,
So
it wasn't long after that they moved.
Oh, Happy Camp.
Yeah.
Do you remember a name?
Happy Camp's on the Mad River up there.
No, I meant the neighbor or the person you drove with.
Oh yeah, Al Stevens. Al, yeah, he was my girlfriend's father. Yeah, they moved shortly after that. They moved to Texas.
What was the first car you ever owned?
Ever owned?
Uh-huh.
29 Ford sedan, two-door sedan.
29 Ford?
Two-door sedan. I'd seen it at a service station in Los Molinas when we were driving by in a logging truck, and I went back on one of the trips and asked them what they wanted for it, and I bought it for $50. Yeah, that was about 1955, 56 in there someplace.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was because you graduated from high school in '56.
Yeah.
So you would have been probably 17.
I had it when I was graduating high school.
Okay.
That's how I met my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. My friend Paul Pavsik and I were driving around the neighborhood one evening, and Glennis and her girlfriends were having a sleepover at her house, and they were all out in the yard playing. And Paul and I stopped by to visit, so we knew a couple of the girls, and that's how I met Glennis.
She told me that you met her because you tied her up to a pole.
Oh, we were out in the yard playing. And, yeah, just horsing around out in the yard.
And you were you would have been 17 then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Looking back, prior to that, what was your most memorable experience of your childhood? Anything that was like the peak of your growing up years?
No, nothing. Friends and I used to go on a lot of long bicycle rides. Like Bill Turner, we'd take got on our bikes and we'd go up the old Honey Run grade to Paradise and back. And it was kind of hard staying on the road coming down. And a time or two, instead of going over the side, we'd run into the side of the hill to slow down and stop. And yeah, but the kids couldn't do that nowadays.
No.
And remember going up the Highway 32 on our bikes, and we coming down the hill faster on our bikes, and the logging trucks were coming down.
Yeah, I've done that. How old were you when you left home?
18.
18. When you got married, actually.
Yeah. Well, out of high school, I moved up to Fall River Mills to log and live with my sister, and while her husband was logging out there, and I got a job driving a water truck out there to keep the road wet for the logging company.
That was Philip?
Fall River Mills.
No, which Monty May?
Yeah, my sister May and her husband Mike Phillips.
Mike Phillips, okay. And did you go on with after high school? Did you have any more schooling after that?
The only other schooling class I took was photography classes at Butte College.
One day I was talking to you, and you were telling me about the men who had influenced you the most growing up, and especially early adulthood.
Mostly it was my brother-in-laws, my sister's husbands. They were more at the age of to get me involved in working and learning how to do things. I learned how to work on trucks, like repairing brakes on trucks and change the oil in a truck and things like that. Well, stuff we were involved in.
Now you mentioned some names. Phillips was one.
Yeah, Mike Phillips. Leonard Tyler.
Leonard Tyler.
Yeah, that was the main two.
There's also some of the dairies that you worked at.
Oh yeah, after I got done logging in the winter time and I needed a full-time job, I got a job working on a Durham dairy, delivering milk home to home. And when I wasn't delivering milk, we'd go back to wash the bottles and help bottle the milk.
And who was the gentleman who ran that operation?
Charlie Cuthbertson.
Cuthbertson, okay.
Yeah, and I worked for him quite a while there, and then he co-signed for us to buy our first home.
On East Avenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a little house on East Avenue. He co-signed at the bank so we could buy that house.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember the first day we moved. We drove into that driveway. Yeah. Who was it that it was Louis Vincent?
Louis Vincent owned Quality Dairy.
Quality Dairy. Okay.
Yeah, I worked for Louis Vincent
Okay.
and his girlfriend Anita Miller.
Right.
which was my brother-in-law Leonard Tyler's sister.
Oh, okay.
And she was kind of a difficult person to put up with.
All right. Then there was when you got married. I know you were still driving truck, but what was the first home that you had in Chico, that you rented or whatever?
Oh, we did an apartment on Salem Street.
Salem.
Yeah,
Okay.
just south of Little Chico Creek.
Okay, I know
It was a basement.
There's an
apartment.
address I have when I was born, something about West 10th Street or something.
Yeah, we moved from that little basement apartment to West 10th Street, and we rented an apartment duplex apartment from the Raybos.
Oh,
The
okay.
Raybos owned Golden Empire Candy Company, and I later went to work for them.
Okay.
When I left Quality Dairy, I went to work for Raybos.
It was Dino.
Dino Raybo,
Right.
and Dino and Nancy Raybo.
Right. Okay.
And Al Bisick was a partner in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for them 10 years.
I know many Raybos in town from.
Yeah, they were a big influence in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot working in wholesale wholesale business.
The business end of.
Yeah, I learned how to service accounts, take care of people, and
Keep inventory.
learn how to take inventory and do ordering and for the warehouse and break in new employees on the routes and run vacations and just general overall
Yeah.
warehouse and route work.
What was the worst job you ever had?
Planting trees. One winter when I was out of work quite a bit, I was planting trees to make a little income to pay our rent.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, planting orchards.
And on the flip side of that, what was the best job you ever had?
Working with a candy company was one of the most enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I remember calling you the Candy Man.
yeah. And worked with good people and met a lot of nice people. Learned how to deal with people.
Yeah. And so after that, you went to.
Called Rainbow Bread.
Okay. And you worked there until
22 years.
22 years until you retired.
Yeah.
And what was your job after retirement?
When we moved up here, we didn't have enough money to pay our buy prescriptions for my mother, my wife, and for Glennis, and so I got a job retail at Radio Shack,
Yeah.
and I met a lot of nice people there.
You like that job?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy working with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only retail job I ever had, other than home delivery milk route.
You have got to travel somewhat in your later years. Can you tell me some of the places you've gotten to travel to?
Oh, mainly just to visit family, like back in Missouri, and then adopted family back in New York, and
How about Australia? Alaska?
Rita, his daughter, our friend Rita that worked with Glennis at the bank. Her daughter Amber moved back to New York to be around her father,
Right.
and she decided to get married back there. So we went back to the wedding, and it was close to Niagara Falls, and we flew into Buffalo, New York, and went to enjoyed the wedding and whatnot for a few days, and then
Yeah.
that was enjoyable.
How about Alaska?
Oh, and we on our 50th anniversary, our youngest son paid for our trip inland passage cruise to Alaska, and we really enjoyed that.
That's good. Have you flown anywhere else or out of the country?
Yeah, while I was working with the bread company, I had a lot of vacation time, so we got a chance to fly to Australia and visit with Alexander, and get to meet her family, enjoy visiting with her and her family down there. We spent a good month down there.
Oh, good.
And,
So you got to look around quite a bit, yeah.
And that was real enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot different, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, great people.
Get used to driving on the other side of the road.
Hey, yeah, your mother, she wouldn't ride in the front. She's just scared to ride in the front seat. With them driving on the wrong side of the road, that's the way they drove down there.
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
They're fast.
Yeah, very fast.
Yeah. But we really enjoyed that trip. Other than the plane ride, we did enjoy that.
Yeah.
It was too long a flight.
Long, yeah.
I don't like to fly anymore. I don't fly anymore if I don't have to.
Can you think of like an historic event in time? You know, people will say, I remember exactly where I was when that happened.
I was standing in front of the fireplace in Sterling City, listening to radio when they bombed Pearl Harbor. I was walking across the entryway in the corridor in the hospital in what's the name of the town? Calusa. One day on a candy route,
Right.
and earthquake hit, and the floor was just like we're walking across waves on the ocean. Yeah, and yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah, that was a big earthquake.
Yeah.
And the last big earthquake I was in was up here in Washington when big hitting in the Squally. I was on the inside Radio Shack store, and this TV started falling off the shelves, and the ceiling tiles started coming down, and we picked up the little dog and Woofer and got out in the parking lot, and the light poles are swinging back and forth, and yeah.
What do you think is your great, if you think of all you've had a lot of different accomplishments in your life, and you know, you might not think they're really great, but a lot of people around you do. What do you think would be your greatest accomplishments in your life?
Watching my grandkids
Yeah.
grow up.
And this one here is kind of the flip side of that, but what do you think is the most embarrassing moment of your life? We all have at least one. And
I don't know. There's been so many. I can't pick any one.
okay.
I get embarrassed easy. Like even in school.
Yeah.
I had such a hard time reading and trying to do a book report and stuff for an English class.
Right.
The girls in the class, none of my friends would make my reports out for me. I was such a poor reader that was a big help. It was embarrassment, but it was a big help.
Yeah, it
got me through high school.
Got you through. I want to go back. Now, I'm going to go back to when you met Mom. Well, let's just go back and you tell me a little bit more about how you met her, and then where you got how your courtship went, and when you got married.
Like you say, we met her at a slumber party, and then we sat on her front porch and talked till 5 in the morning, and to get acquainted. And the next day, we decided we'd meet together and talk. So, she walked toward my house, and I walked toward her, and we met about halfway, and then walked over to her place and talked to her. And we from then on we spent much time together as we could. And her mother was an invalid, is paralyzed, so she took a lot of her time helping take care of her mother. And then she got a job working as an advertiser, a newspaper advertiser, and working some of their equipment to line up the columns on the newspaper. And that's the first job that she had out of high school, I remember. And we finally made enough money to rent an apartment.
Proposal. Did you actually go through a formal marriage proposal? Where you got down on a knee and asked her?
No, not really. No. We just decided it was time.
It was time.
Time.
Yeah.
Her, at that time, her folks were living in Paradise, and we told her mom and dad that we wanted to get married, and her mother was bad because she didn't like me, and she wouldn't go. So talked her Aunt Opal into going with us, and my mother, and we drove over to Reno, a sunshiny day here in California, and took off, and we got about halfway to Reno and it started snowing, and had to get in and put chains on, and we lost one of the chains going into Reno, and went into my uncle Roy and Jenny's place and changed clothes, and went to the Baptist minister to get married, and we got our license and went to the minister and the Baptist church had burnt down or was being repaired or something, so we went to the Seventh-day Adventist church and got married by a Baptist minister.
That's great. What was popular at the time when you guys got together and got married? Was there popular music or movies?
Drive-in restaurants with the music. You'd nominate songs or something to be played over the jukebox or the
right.
radio stations.
And this would have been 1956?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of told me a little bit what the wedding was like. It was basically you met with the Baptist minister in the Seventh-day Adventist church, and
it was cold and snowy.
It was like a short and sweet ceremony?
Oh, yeah, just a basic.
Yeah.
Almost like a justice of the peace, I guess, other than it was a minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and we went to a restaurant, one of the casinos, to have dinner, and they wouldn't let us in. We were too young. But we finally ended up at the Prima Donna Casino, and they had a restaurant close enough to the door we could go in and have dinner.
Oh, okay.
And then we headed home.
So, how did you feel when you found out your first child was coming?
Yeah, it was shortly after we got married. Yeah, yeah. It was 9 months later. He was here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your feelings when your first child was born? I mean,
How do we afford this? That was our biggest problem, is money. We don't afford to do what we needed to do, buy things we needed. And for the next several years, we had a running doctor bill, and hard to keep paid off.
yeah. What was the difference between when you were growing up and when your kids were growing up? Things.
People's expectations of what you needed to have, necessities of what you needed and what you could get by without. It was the idea of everybody, you had to buy something. Everybody's trying to sell you something, and really you didn't need all that stuff. They just tried to tell you as you do. Learn how to get by with what you don't have to have.
When you were growing up, it was different. I mean, it wasn't as materialistic.
Yeah.
So
It was, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the money to buy anything, you just didn't buy it.
right.
Yeah, and it's a big difference.
People didn't go into debt. for
Big
things,
difference,
How would you describe your children when they were kids?
Just everyday, just regular kids growing up.
How-
Although I think we lived in a neighborhood where a lot of the people in the neighborhood had a lot more income than what we did, so it made it a little harder on our kids not being able to afford something that the neighbor kids had. But that worked out.
Yeah.
Like Mike, I remember Michael, he'd always want the fanciest, nicest coat clothes, and we thought, well, we'd give him the money to buy what we'd buy, and then he'd have to have the money to buy what he wanted. And that was fine for a while, but he found out he didn't have to have those fancy duds.
Buy whatever I
Just
wanted.
growing up in a neighborhood around people that had more than what we had, it made a difference on you boys.
How would you describe our holidays when we had like Christmas or Thanksgiving?
They were just nice get-togethers for the local part of the family, but we didn't get to include the distant part of the family. We didn't get acquainted with a lot of the distant family, like the Missouri part of the family, and different parts, And when I was growing up, I didn't get acquainted with a lot of my family because my folks couldn't afford to travel.
Right. Then we grew as a family. We needed something bigger. What were the factors that made you decide to buy the house on Palmetto?
It was the only thing we could price, the only thing we could afford
Oh, okay.
to have a home of our own.
Yeah.
And
Because and I remember it was a lot of money at the time. Yeah. But it was a great location.
oh yeah, it was 4 boys in that little 2-bedroom house, plus Mickey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Uncle Bill was working at the missile base out there at that time, and that's where I got that shed for the backyard.
Right.
Yeah, the tool shed.
Yeah, that's right.
And,
it's
that-
still there.
That was a big help.
It's still there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
As a family, as being the father of 4 boys and all that, can you think of like a point, what was like a time that was really the happiest that you had in that time?
Just having family together, get-togethers,
Any kind
everybody
of like,
enjoy each other.
no, I was thinking, you had any like peak experience as a family that you just really thought this is great,
We never did go any place or do anything to mount anything other than just to visit family.
Or we go to the coast
Yeah.
or something.
Gene,
Camping.
Gene and Leonard, after they got married, they would take weekend trips sometimes and take my mom or me along.
Yeah.
And I got to visit some of the family that way. Like Bertie and Orrin over in Nevada. I
Yeah.
got to go visit them. Leonard had a brother that had a cabin up on the river up further the River Canyon, and we'd go up and visit. And then his father or brother died up there in one of those lakes up there. And
Tell me, do you remember our trips over to Fort Bragg and Patrick's Point and?
oh yeah,
all
we
those?
used
Yeah.
to try to make those, get you boys over there to enjoy the coast and stuff.
Yeah.
Every chance we got. Yeah, I guess you enjoyed it and we did too.
I remember one experience when we were there during the record lowest tide ever.
Which?
The lowest tide,
Oh, the tide.
ever, and you could walk all the way
Oh,
out and get
oh.
knock the
Oh yeah.
abalone right off the rock.
Yeah. When I worked at the bakery, our mechanic there was two mechanics, and one of the younger one, Gary Simmons, Darwin Simmons' son,
Yeah.
he was the mechanic there, and he would do he'd go over to the coast and dive for abalone a lot, and he brought me abalone a lot, and we enjoyed that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So, of all your life, I mean, you've actually, you're very humble about what you're speaking of, but I know you've accomplished a lot of different things, more things than a lot of people I know, your age. And what do you think would be, if you thought about, what would be your proudest accomplishment?
I don't know, just having a family and being able to watch them grow.
Huh?
Yeah, that's a big accomplishment for us. And it's like you guys were in Little League and stuff like that, you know. Your mom and I both got involved, just make sure you had to work. And
I remember well.
she worked 40 hours a week at that commissary out there as well as her work.
Yeah. What do you recall as the time you felt most proud of each of your children, and why? Unfair question for me to ask, but.
I think mainly when they graduated from high school and started their own families.
So I'm thinking you have 8 grandchildren,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure how many great grandchildren.
I counted the other day and I forgot now. Matt's got
So,
Kelly.
yeah, so it would be 7,
There's-
and so it would be 9.
Yeah.
9. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good. We got that figured out.
Yeah. He may have more that I don't know of. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, first this one.
Your mom and I at the high school graduation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, high school graduation. I wasn't sure that was a prom or a high school
The
graduation.
high school graduation.
Okay.
Are you boys going to Sunday school?
Yeah.
I don't know which church or anything. Well, I'm going too, so it must have been the
This is
Mormon church.
This is when I was on my
It had to
mission.
be. It almost had to be.
This was when I was a missionary overseas.
Yeah.
So it was around that time. Yeah. If you had to go back and relive any part of your life, which do you think it would be? I mean,
I can't think of a thing. I enjoyed this way it worked. Everything went.
Yeah.
I don't have any certain part I want to redo. I guess.
yeah.
Because it'd be different. It wouldn't be the same.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer because I feel the same way. I mean, I would not have grown
Yeah.
and learned those lessons if I hadn't, you know. What are the main things that guide you when you make decisions in life?
Is it right or wrong?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Will I be happy when I'm done with it? Yeah.
If you're under a lot of stress for some reason, and it could be for any reason, health or money or whatever, what is it that gets you through that?
Just stop and think about it for a while before I venture on. Otherwise, I'm not gonna get into trouble doing this, or do I just jump into something I don't know about what I'm doing?
When you were growing up, I'm thinking like before you got married, what was your greatest fear? You didn't have any like.
I don't know. probably losing my mom or dad or my sister or whatever, you know.
A family member, yeah.
Yeah. Enjoyed losing what I had.
In 80 some years on Earth, 80 some tours around the sun, what do you think is probably the greatest lesson that you've learned in life?
Just not to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. Just take today and do what you can with today. You got no control over tomorrow.
And
just try to be prepared the best you can.
yeah,
It's like here at the home. I've got enough food to last me a year.
I know.
Yeah, but it's not really what I would want probably at the time, but
Yeah.
it would
It'll get you
sustain us.
through. Yeah. Growing up, did you have any one person in particular that you admired most? That was like a role model to you?
What? Your mother?
Okay, good. That was good.
Well, she put up with it.
What is the hardest thing you've ever had to do in your life?
Watch her die.
Yeah. Do you remember any sayings that your mother or father had?
Go out and cut a switch.
Okay. Here on Earth, what is your most prized possession?
I don't think I have any certain thing.
When you look back, can you think of 3 fantastic changes in the world that you've witnessed?
Technology, it's like my mom and dad used to say, who would ever thought you'd sit in your living room and watch a war going on?
I've asked you this kind of before, but can you give me kind of 3 main principles to live by? If you're giving someone counseling, and you're trying to give them some counseling for life decisions, can you name the 3 principles that you should live by?
Love, truth.
Faith, prayer.
Yeah. Same thing.
I'm going to try to get away from all the personal stuff for a little bit, emotional stuff, okay? How old did your grandfather live, or your father live to be?
85.
85 years old. And what was it that finally took his life? Was it?
I think it was cancer, but I don't know.
I heard something about emphysema,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I think he had colon cancer, and I don't know.
Okay, and then your mother lived.
She just died of old age.
Old age. Okay.
She said it was just her time to go. All her friends were gone. She had no reason to keep living, so she quit eating.
Have you had any like major illnesses or allergies?
Cellulitis.
That's the cellulitis.
That, I don't know how many hernias I've had, and appendicitis.
Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about using credit?
It's a have to at times, but I don't like the idea of it.
Yeah.
But it's just that you have to at times.
I'm asking you a few questions because, let's say, 20 years from now, someone watches this and they're looking for some advice on how to make wise decisions in life. So they're looking towards this to kind of get some ideas, okay? And what did you like most about what you did for a living?
People you meet.
Or
Yeah,
friendships
yeah.
you make? Yeah.
Working with people.
Yeah.
You never know who you're going to meet, what it's going to lead to.
What have been your experiences with professionals like accountants, attorneys, real estate people?
I'll quote my mother: lawyers and dentists should be banned.
That's perfect. Have you received any recognition for anything, awards or anything like that in life?
Oh, no, not that I can think of.
Okay.
Appreciation for a ride on a Navy ship for a week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What are the what tips do you have for people about managing their money?
It's pay cash.
Okay. Have you ever gotten in financially over your head, and how did you get out?
Just pay it off the best you can.
What was your typical work day like when you were working?
Daylight till dark plus.
Was your work very stressful?
At times.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be, but it was at times.
Uh-huh.
It accomplished what you're supposed to do. You have a certain route to cover, and so much, it's only so much hours in the day to get it done.
Right.
Get it done and do it the best way you can.
Yeah. Do you have any special thoughts about dealing with bosses?
Bosses?
Yeah, or subordinates, or coworkers, or
Just be honest with them, but no matter what. It might get you in trouble, but be honest.
yeah. How do you define success?
Success? Just doing the best you can with what you got.
Yeah.
You can't do any more than that.
Can you describe in your own words your spiritual and religious beliefs?
I believe there is a Lord, a God above us, and His Son that's built, created this earth and life for us, and we're supposed to use it the best way we can.
Did your parents or grandparents have any strong religious beliefs?
If they did, they didn't vocalize them. I don't remember my folks ever going to church, although my mother was raised by a preacher,
Yeah.
you know, and I never hear either one of them praying, although I have the suspicion that my dad's prayed a lot, but I can't,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
How has your faith helped guide you through life?
My what?
Your faith.
My faith?
Uh-huh.
It just helped me be an honest person, mainly, you know. Try to do the best I can with,
Yeah.
be honest about it.
And
It's hard sometimes to not cloud the truth sometimes.
Yeah.
Trying to save somebody's feelings or something. It's kind of hard sometimes to be truthful.
Did your mother send you to church, or did you go with a sister, or?
You know, my neighbors invited me to go with them,
Okay.
and then Sunday school bus would come by.
Uh-huh.
My mom would get me dressed, and we'd go with them.
Can you tell me of an experience where a prayer was answered?
No certain one. There's been so many. I can't think of any certain one.
Can you describe, and I know there's probably many here, but some of the ways that your life has been blessed because of your faith?
The opportunity to meet people that are like-minded people that can be friends with and socialize with. Yeah. And make life easier.
Do you have like one last thing that maybe you could share that you'd like to share with me in this interview?
I just like to see the day that my sons can get along, good to enjoy time with one another, and enjoy each life with each other. I pray for that. Life's too short to have any hard feelings.
Well, thank you so much. I'm completing it. The interview is complete, and you have been
I hope
great.
it helps.
This has just been fantastic, and I want all my brothers to see this. I want my brothers to see this. I want my grandkids to see this, so that they know. So they know they know not only your history, but what's in your heart. You know, and so that's what's really important.